What is up, fellow sickos? I am Dan Favale coming at you with my one, my only, my certified fantabulous co-host, Mr. Grant Hughes. Time for another round of hashtag WJAQ. We're just asking questions. We cannot be held responsible for what those questions lead to. The question of the week is, not to be overdramatic, but does the fate of NBA parity rest with one team, Grant? And that one team is your Los Angeles Clippers. You're running the Clippers. You're a Clippers fan. I mean, the Warriors are kind of, they don't defend anymore, according to Jimmy Butler. So is that question dramatic is what we need to set out. And why is it a question at all? But we probably need to start with, this is why we're asking the questions. The Clippers are not good at the moment. They are very old. We knew this coming in, but everyone getting and playing very old at the same time does not seem, except for James Harden, apparently, who has been by and large spectacular this season, not something everyone saw coming, or at least didn't expect. Oklahoma City controls the next two Clippers first round picks. So they're going to get this season's, and they're also, this isn't talked about enough either, is they're also going to get 2027 if it's bad. They have the right to swap. It's part of, they have all these, we won't complicate it for everybody, but Denver's pick could be outgoing since they own the right to Denver's pick in 2027 at top 5 protection. But the Clippers essentially can have the 26 Clippers pick, that's just outright, no protections on it, and then they have the ability to swap in 2027. So if the Clippers are bad, which as of right now they are bad, and we're talking about if the season ended today, they're going to have a 30% chance of landing inside the top 4 of the lottery or so. There is a not insignificant chance that the Clippers are going to end up sending Oklahoma City a top 5 pick in one of the next 2 drafts, Grant. And what I want to start before getting into the Clippers and whether they can turn this around, what are the implications of that happening? And I mean that in the sense of, you can look at it through, and we should, where does one of these picks land? And looking at the 2026 class specifically, could you imagine just giving OKC Cam Boozer or AJ Dubinsa is absolutely terrifying. But it's also the idea of just giving OKC a top 10 pick is kind of insane.
It is. And so it is a hyperbolic sort of question to ask. But I think the reason it's not just completely unhinged is that it's not like, well, it'd be nice if Team X got an extra, or it seems unfair that Team X is getting just a good team is getting another crack at like a franchise cornerstone type guy, which is what, we're talking in extremes, but like that's on the table if you get a top, if you're high in the lottery. The thing is, the Thunder, this isn't an issue if the Thunder aren't like this level of good, which is coming off the title, set the point differential record, smoking that point differential record this year so far, having lost one time as we're recording this. So like, it's not just a very good team getting another bite at the apple. It's a team that, like, as it is, if we didn't have any of this draft pick stuff as a potential outcome, we'd still be talking about have the Thunder ruined parity or something like that, because they are so young, because they have their 3 core guys locked down, because they have movable money elsewhere. Like, it's just, that's the element of this, is the Thunder are so good that almost any little bit of help they get feels like it might tip things into sort of uncomfortable territory for a league that has achieved the goal of parity, and at least in terms of like who's winning titles, right? It's right. You do get some usual suspects at the top of the standings, but that's just always going to happen. But the league, has whether you're talking about the weighting of the lottery odds or the play-in tournament, or to discourage tanking and kind of keep more teams grouped in the middle, like goal achieved with respect to parity in a lot of respects. And this would potentially kind of cut against that. So I think for me, it's just the fact that it is this Thunder team specifically makes this a more relevant, more interesting issue than if it were just some other team that, I don't know, what if it was the Nuggets or something, that might have a crack at these
their
picks?
Best, right? Because their best player, because they're already kind of seeing some of the problems where Aaron Gordon being injured right now. Christian Brown is younger, but you're paying these guys, and I think there are 2 dangers for the rest of the league, to where you say, well, OKC's window is going to be open for eternity, is deliberately over the top. But then you start to sit here. Me and you have preached this a ton. something always changes in the NBA. Not like we thought the Brooklyn Nets during the KD Kyrie era were going to be with James Harden, were going to be inevitable at some point, even if it was shorter. That just implodes. The Celtics, their window's been ended, but they're going through a gap year. No one would have thought that the Pacers would have to go through a gap year immediately after making consecutive conference finals and NBA finals appearance. Something always happens. Injuries, teams get expensive. The Thunder seem uniquely inoculated against all of this with these picks coming down the pipeline for a multitude of factors. One of them is playing out in real time. Their second best player, as we record this, has yet to play this season, and all those numbers you outlined about one of the best starts in NBA history is still taking place. The other thing here is they could be in the second apron as soon as next season. They don't have to be if they don't want to. They have the Isaiah Hartenstein team option, and he's integral to the team. But one, maybe you keep him cheaper. You could get rid of other guys. You're still going to be the odds-on favorite to win a title if you're relatively healthy, even if you lose him. The other thing, though, is because they have these inbound picks, going into the second apron, if they're willing to pay, isn't that, oh, your draft pick is frozen. Oh, it gets moved to the end of the first round. Guess where the Thunder are going to be drafting for the foreseeable future anyway, Grant? The end of the first round. And then finally, so you get to bring in these cost-controlled prospects, which should, in theory, let's say J-Dub, Chet, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, this team isn't willing to pay all of them over the next 3 to 5 years, that you lose someone. Well, if this is the higher end of it, but if you have the chance to develop a Boozer or a Dubinsa, like this, that becomes kind of terrifying. I think you could even, we've yet to see Nikola Topic play during the regular season, but that's someone else they kind of have waiting in the wings. And you can also argue they don't need, look at where they found a lot of these guys. Jalen Williams, who's an all-NBA player already. They got him at number 12. Cason Wallace was at number 10. And then you start to look at kind of the moves they make on the margins to where it's, oh, like Chris Youngblood went undrafted and got minutes on this team. He's played more minutes than Carter Bryant this year. Brooks Barnharzer was taken 44th overall this past June. And if you watched him during Summer League, he has the outlines of, oh, this is overall a guy. AJ Mitchell, where was he drafted? 38th overall. And so first overall, 4th overall, 10th overall, 47th overall, the Thunder have proven that they can find dudes. And if you give them enough higher end shots, and the Clippers are maybe going to give them 2 that are in the lottery, we're not even talking top 5 picks necessarily, that is harrowing. And I think you could even, you kind of alluded to this already, you could even make the case that even if these picks don't turn into stars because of AJ Mitchell, because of big Jalen Williams, just finds like that, because of if Barnhizer turns into something, or even with Cason Wallace, does he become cheaper than Alex Caruso in his next deal or something? They're just built to navigate this anyway. And the final thing before throwing it back to you, Grant, what happens if OKC just sits here and says, we're going to roll with Chet, J-Dub, and Shai until the wheels fall off, and we're going to move the parts around them? Do you realize how much more dangerous those draft picks that they're getting from the Clippers become then, when you don't need any of them to be the guy?
Yeah, it's hard to... I think maybe just to sort of like tamp down the panic level. I think
can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Do you view this as a legitimate existential crisis for Parity?
I don't think so. And even if it is, that's okay. I like dynasties. Like, so I'm kind of gonna win either way as a spectator.
Do you? Why would you say that you like dynasties?
Just, it's kind of my favorite thing. Well, so here's what I think. I think one, it's very, very hard to be as good as the Thunder are right now. And so just like law of averages, they can't be this good for that long just because it's impossible. Like you just can't stay at a 70 win pace for forever. What I think these extra picks might do is keep the floor exceptionally high for way longer than it should be, because you can use these to offload money you maybe eventually don't want. Like, what if one of your expensive guys gets hurt and this is just dead money now? Well, having extra first to move that helps. What if Alex Caruso gets old, Hardenstein doesn't fit anymore? Now, those are bad examples because their contracts are manageable and aren't forever, but you can move things around. You can supplement the rest of the core with new pieces using those. The other thing you can do is like just take the Nets in this past draft, for example. It's like, well, they're not going to use all these. They'll surely trade a couple for like more long shot down the road assets. The Thunder could just keep rolling these things over if they want to, right? So it's like, yeah, oh, maybe they're a second apron team for too long and they have to sacrifice, they surrender a draft pick or they get it frozen or whatever. It's like, well, we can trade this year's for maybe a higher ceiling one in 3 years out or 4 years beyond when this one's going to convey. Like, you can just kick the can down the road a little bit and assure that, maybe we can't stay at a 75 win pace for like 5 years in a row, but we might be able to stay at like 55 indefinitely if we just keep replenishing things and keep kind of like stretching all these extra picks and assets out a little farther, which like normally for a small market team like this, you might say like, well, that ought to be the goal. Because that's just, you want to stay relevant and be like a top 5, top 6 playoff team for as long as you can. That feels like aiming low for as good as the Thunder are now. But I do think it just extends whatever you call this run. It doesn't have to be like they're massive title favorites every year, but it might be like they're a top 4 team forever, just because you can, for the next 10 years, because you can just use these things to kind of extend your window of not contention, but like relevance, maybe. I don't know. That to me is like, that's easy. Yeah, Spursian, like where you make the playoffs all, every year for 15 or something like that. That feels like, which again, that was fun too. I didn't mind that when the Spurs were just a clockwork, relevant team. That it works out well. Now, the other 29 teams might not feel the same way, but if you don't have skin in the game, I think this is not a bad thing.
This may be one of my most incendiary takes, but that Spurs run feels like the floor, the way this team is set up. Because even with almost, so the J-Dub injury, or the injuries to start last year too, how the development there, because one of the questions should be moving forward, well, it gets tough to develop. We're seeing this in some other cases with lower end youngsters, but how do you balance prospect development with trying to chase the title? Well, if you're going to blow out a bunch of teams, you know how to use garbage time. Or the Thunder have just been able to, the AJ Mitchell, before he got injured last year as a rookie, was part of the rotation.
Yep.
He was part of the Thunder rotation. And so if they're going to continue to be able to find the developmental opportunities to where they're able to make calls, they understand, oh, this is what we have in AJ Mitchell. This is what we have in Jay Will. Now, complications like Nikola Topic maybe missing both of his first 2 seasons in the league, those will always come up. And I'm not saying that every draft pick they make is going to be a home run. It's also easy for me to sit here and say a 2-decade run of just being hyper relevance the floor when they've yet to suffer that first bit of collateral damage of how good they are. And that will come. We don't, Josh Giddey, I guess, was the first part, but they had decided that wasn't about money as much as we think we're better built if we move him for Alex Caruso to win the title. They were right. I mean, Josh Giddey's played very well to start the season in Chicago this year, but they were right to make that call. If there comes a point to where Hartenstein might be a potential, not crossroads, but that's a pivot point. If they decide he's too expensive to keep, perhaps the core is able to react well to that just because he wasn't there from day zero. But if Case and Wallace gets too expensive, if AJ Mitchell, when that highway robbery of a contract ends, if someone else, if it comes a time where they decide, what if they have to move on from Kenrich Williams, Grant? He's going to get a statue, I would assume, somewhere in Oklahoma City. So that would be the variable that we, aside from banking on injuries, and I think what the next topic would be, well, are we forgetting about other teams that are just going to be in the mix to challenge the peak version of the Thunder? But I think the one variable we haven't talked about yet was, well, what happens when they make the first controversial collateral damage call? They have yet to need to do that.
Well, maybe the segue is one of the teams that was sort of similarly positioned and had to make decisions like the ones you're talking about is the Houston Rockets, because like they did sign Jalen, like, so the talk was like, how are they going to pay all these guys, right? Thompson, Şengün, Green, Eason, now Jabari Smith, Reach. There's several. Jalen Green's gone. Tari Eason doesn't have a new deal yet. Jabari Smith signed what I think most people agree is kind of a bargain deal. They moved one of the picks to get Kevin Durant. So they had to kind of make some of these. Şengün they got. Now, this is a little different because the Rockets kept getting guys on below market deals, and the Thunder have kind of paid market rates for their 3 big names.
Well, can I push back there for a second?
Well, are you going to mention the J-Dub thing?
Well, they did. With Chet, they didn't have to get the all NBA language in there. And with J-Dub, they knew what was going. I know he suffered complications, but that very much now feels like they allowed the agent to win the press release on this.
Which great. It makes Williams look better. Like, well, we thought he was a supermax guy. But so Houston is one of those teams I think you would cite that has a young core that might be there to challenge the Thunder for quite a while. But they're also an example of like, you can navigate this also cuts the other way because it shows the Thunder like, yeah, you can just navigate some of these like who do you pay and how much situations as they arise and come out like, I don't know, better in the end for it. Because this is, again, the Rockets are playing without Van Vliet, and that's forced some of the younger guys to stretch a little bit. And so like they're one of the first ones that comes to mind as far as who's going to be challenging the Thunder going forward, challenging the Thunder's efforts to destroy Parity going forward, right? Who is that the first team that comes to mind for you, or are there more?
I think it's Houston just because of how high level because I think you could sit here and say, my answer would be Şengün, but there'd be a debate if you said fast forward 3 years, who's the best player on the Rockets? You have Amen Thompson, Reed Shepherd maybe gets thrown into that mix. It's not going to be Kevin Durant. He's not their best player now. And then Şengün. With other teams, you don't necessarily have that debate, and the Spurs would just be the team that I would name next because Wemby exists. But we still don't. We need more intel on Steph Castle. What does it look like when he actually gets to play with De'Aaron Fox and then Dylan Harper as well? But that's another team to where they still have assets if they want to go out and make another move. They have what is a top 5 NBA player right now. A guy who, if he plays in 65 games, will probably set the record for the most defensive players of the year awards won in just having Wemby. And so the ability to move around that, but I know they started off the season like gangbusters, but don't they feel, is there another team? My question to you, is there another team you view on Houston's level moving forward that you believe could consistently challenge OKC?
I mean, it depends on how far forward you're moving, because you mentioned, well, the Spurs are there because of Wembanyama, then the Nuggets have to be there because of Jokic. That's just like on a 5-year time horizon, like maybe the Nuggets
Probably
are
not.
there, but
Not
probably
5.
not, right? It's more like 3, I think. You could say Jokic, if 3 years from now, like if Jokic is the best player in the world still, it's like, well, all right, yeah, of course he is. But 5 gets a little hairy, and we start talking about 5, like Shea's the only guy that's going to be like maybe like late prime at that point. Everybody, the other, I mean, you know, everybody else is going to still be in their 20s. Or actually, J-Dub is like sneaky older than you think, but like not late prime in 5 years. You have to, you can't find another team with like a similar collection of young players.
Maybe Detroit.
That's the one I was going to say, because it's like Cunningham's young enough. Duran, Asar Thompson takes a leap. Ron Holland learns to play offense. Like that's close. Like Cleveland is going to age out probably because Mitchell, Garland's health.
Garland can't stay healthy is the big thing. That's a good point.
But you have the Mobley piece where it's like, okay, he's the type of guy you could see, not on the Wemby level, but like, well, they have Mobley, so they're relevant and dangerous.
Yeah. See, when you start to stretch it beyond the 2 or 3 year window is where it gets to, because I was even going to say Toronto with the way Scotty Barnes is playing this year, but they're not the youngest team.
I mean, the thing is, though, how realistic is it to think about anything in terms beyond a 2 or 3 year window, right? Because like you just said, like things always change. 2 or 3 years ago, how hard would we have laughed if Detroit had entered this conversation, right? Like it's just like I know we're trying to look like operate on the Thunder's timeline, which like that might be it may be the Spurs, but Wemby's health is who knows. The Thunder are like the only team you can think about 5 years from now. Everybody else is just going to look so different. There'll be some team that if we mentioned them right now, it would be laughable, like Washington. Like, I don't know, in 5 years, where are who can say? Maybe Alex Sarr is a 2-time MVP by then or something. Just anything's possible.
But I think what's also tough too is that even if we were to stick within the more truncated window, let's use this season. This season as an example, before these picks with the Clippers have conveyed, what are the teams, finals, conference finals, whatever, that you would give a realistic chance of beating OKC 4 times in 7 tries right now? I think there's Denver. I'll give you mine. Yeah. And then I feel like Houston might belong there. They feel I think Reed Shepherd needs to like really kind of, he's been great, but probably needs to be even better. after that, I'm not taking anybody in the East to give OKC a series right now. I don't see the team. Maybe Cleveland
I don't think
is
so.
The outlook is muddied just because Darius Garland has not played enough and they've looked bonkers offensively when he's on the court. But that's what's also so even if we're using a 2 or 3 year window, like what are the teams that you think are the Spurs need to make another move, I would say, before they're there, or Dylan Harper, Steph Castle go kaboom.
Right. Yeah, and that then you're just talking. They're the puncher's chance category, right? Well, they have Wemby, and like he might just be unsolvable, and with a little bit of luck. But yeah, I think you're right. I think the list is really short. I do think well, what do you think about the idea that like how relevant are these picks in the 2 to 3 year window we're talking about? Like, do you think they can actually?
Well, what's that? That's what's disturbing to me. Is that
I see, because they don't need them in this short time horizon.
And so if they're going to, that's what allows us to look ahead, is that if you believe that they will be able to develop players while still being good, if you give them, let's say both of these picks land in the top 10, and we need to get to the Clippers of it all now shortly, you're going to tell, what percentage chance, let's say both of those picks land in the top 10, what percentage chance would you give one of them of turning at least one of them turning into that guy's eventually going to be an all-star? I might go over 50%.
Well, that's the thing that we haven't really talked about it. It's like there's an Usman Jang pick in there, so the Thunder don't get them all. They don't get them all right. But
hashtag Poku,
Poku, another one. So they don't always do it quite perfectly. But yeah,
well, if
you give them 2 shots at it, they're getting one. They're getting one guy that's at least like a plus starter on a normal team.
Right, because I was going to say, who's the top 10 pick that they've missed on? You could say Josh Giddey, but they got Alex Caruso for him, and Josh Giddey might make an all-star team this year.
It's hard to find that guy. Maybe impossible.
My only final question on this, and this is a broader stroke inquiry, could you see this reaching the level of players are looking to join up to localize in a location or two to actively beat the Thunder? Or do you think because of the way that team salary structures have become, and also just, I think players, I think players more than ever realize when you're playing with a cluster of stars, how much it can do to your role. And I don't think everybody wants to be marginalized that way. But just as an example, looking at what Golden State is right now, if these players were in their prime, though, would this have been our teams actively going to, or like what happened in Phoenix, what happened in Brooklyn, is at one point it felt like big threes were being formed because that felt like the model. Now I'm just wondering, even if it's 2 superstars, might we see these elite mega NBA players cluster to say, no, we need to take down the Thunder. This is year 7 of them just annihilating the rest of the league.
That's interesting. You could certainly imagine. Well, I don't know, just to pick 2 guys at random. It's like, well, Anthony Edwards or something, like we're not quite good enough in Minnesota. And then, I don't know, superstar, I don't want to like start any like hypotheticals, but like, Cade Cunningham's like, we're pretty good, but we can't quite do it.
I need to go play with Wemby, or Wemby needs to go play with Cade.
So I think that's a possibility. I think that's going to happen anyway, because that's just been the way things have happened, regardless of what the CBA has looked like over the last 20 years.
Has it ever happened? Has a team ever actively been built to take down one? Because you can't. It's the Rockets with the Warriors would be the answer. But it's irrational to say, well, they were only built to beat the Warriors. They were built to contend. Yes, but they were built in the image of contending during the Warriors era. And as we've seen teams try to carve out these deeper rotations, in part because of the Thunder, in part because of the Pacers, I think the Rockets have actually played a big role in that too. I just think that we might see more outlier. Like there might be a franchise that has maybe one superstar that has the pull to really reel in enough, and they might, whether it's for 1 or 2 years, they might just do things that seem reckless and unthinkable because of the Thunder, which I don't know that. Again, I think Houston and Golden State is the closest we have to an analog on that.
Right. And like, think about what the alternative to that is. Like, man, the Thunder are really good. We better just kind of lay back for a while and just wait it out. Right. Like nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to like, you can't operate as a franchise that way.
No.
And so like, I think
when you're saying teams such as the Wizards really need, like they have cap space this summer, you need to go for it. That is something you also have to consider to say, well, why? Like, what?
I think the why is because you really still don't know what's going to happen. Like, what if J-Dub can never shoot again because of the wrist? And what if Chet gets, I mean, Chet's been hurt 2 of his 3 years, right? Like,
Yeah.
what, you know, so the Thunder are proving that like they're fine without one of their 3 guys if they lose 2. So like the Wizards is the extreme case, right? Where it's like, you guys are so far away, quote unquote, going for it is crazy.
And I'm also I'm not trying to advocate that regular seasons all of a sudden can't matter because of the Thunder. I hate chess, but I like the chess element of it. Of you have to try and think all these steps ahead to figure out like what you don't want to purposely pull back, but you also do have to, I would think, evaluate your moves and direction against. Well, this is the benchmark, right? Like this is the standard bearer for title contention right now.
Don't you think that we got to move on? But don't you think that thinking about the Thunder that way is more relevant to like, it's deadline time, we need a guy, this needs to be someone that can be on the floor against the Thunder and how they play, as opposed to like, these are the types of players we're going to draft, and like this is the type of team we're going to build as a rebuilder? I think it's more of a like, oh, we look like we are going to run into these guys, we need our Alex Caruso, or we need someone that can slow, you know what I mean? I think that's when you see them thought about that way.
I think in the early stages of a rebuild, sure, because to use what's a team that, I mean, the Pelicans as an example, just maybe they don't know they're rebuilding yet, but Derek Queen and Jeremiah Fears both look really good. You don't take those players at the start of a rebuild because you think that the Thunder are going to be the standard bearer in 5 to 7 years when you're fully cooked and ready to go. At the same time, I think if we fast forward 2 or 3 years and this is just the Thunder are still really good and it doesn't look like they've now drafted another big name or 2, or just look like they're set up to continue doing what they're doing now, I think it changes, man. I think not the rebuilding teams, but we might see more wholesale, like off-season stuff, not just trade deadline decisions, off-season stuff. Those directions are made then based on a lot of what the Thunder are doing.
I would normally disagree, but this is an extreme case. So like I think it's much more plausible than it has been in a long time.
Here's the question then, though. Can the Clippers do their part, turn things around, and not make it easier for the Thunder to last? And I think it might be best framed through this prism. We could look at this season and talk about what a disaster it is, and we absolutely should. Why would they be any better next year? They're not getting any younger. Right. And it seems like they're kind of conserving flexibility to be spend heavy in the summer of 2027. This might be the middle. I mean, the draft class, it's vaunted, so that matters. But this could be, when you look at where the pick lands, this could be the middle ground outcome to where all this is like 8th. Next year it's going to be 4.
Right. The arrow on the Clippers is angled down because they're coming in, they were old. They all got older. They're slow. The route out of this is what? Yeah, like Zubats is the guy you would trade that you might get. Like, do you trade Zubats to the Thunder now and just get your pick back? Like, is that you
would
take
the Thunder
Hartenstein and
why would they do that?
Zubats is better than Hartenstein. I don't know. But yeah, you're right. Like I don't see a way out for the Clippers other than the old guys just play better. Because you can't, like, what are you trading to improve? You're already just all in on now based on the age of the roster and the types of players that they brought in. So you're not trading your way out of this. It just, the guys, and Kawhi came back just a day before we recorded this and looked like pretty close to Kawhi. So, you've got
Stop
that.
me if you've heard that one before.
Right. Yeah. Oh, it looks, man, imagine how good they, okay, well, we'll see if he plays 3 out of every 5 games going forward. That would be a pretty good benchmark. Harden's been great, but they're terrible when he's been great. So what do you do there?
I was going to ask, let's say they can trade 2 first-round picks. I think one of them might need to be conditional, but 2030 and 2032. You can include a swap in there as well. If you were able to get, let's say, LaMelo Ball or Trae Young or name, I don't even know what the Clippers feel like they need so many things. I don't know what other. If they get Giannis, I'm trying to think of a player that would be more debatable. I don't think they have enough to get any of those players, anyone I just named. But even if you said, if you could get Zion from the Pelicans, I don't even know, would you need to give up a first round pick for that at this point? Do you just do it because, or no, you have to think for them specifically, these picks, those outlays are there. We're not throwing good money after bad, because whatever you do, unless you believe that Trae Young or LaMelo Ball or Zion for some reason is the bridge to the future and you're going to rebuild through free agency, which, by the way, basically since the Clippers did it, and even that required a trade, weren't really, no team is being built through free. Who was the last? Was it Brooklyn when they got Kyrie and Kevin Durant in the same summer? Was the last team to just be
high
built?
profile for sure.
Just the Knicks got Jalen Brunson is the lone name they got in free agency. The rest is trade. So that's the risk there, is that for the rest of the league, this feels, yeah, okay, the Clippers, like, let's go. Like, you need to make this move, of course. But if I'm the Clippers, I'm like, no, absolutely
no.
not.
If they, you're right. I agree. If they make a move, it has to be because, wow, this team is old and we need something to bridge us to the post Harden, post Kawhi stage of our existence. It can't be like making a trade so you're better, so the pick you convey to another team is worse, is like pure insanity. That pick's gone. Like, it doesn't matter.
100% make the move.
That's okay, great. So that's how you're justifying it. Yeah, no, I think that's not the Clippers. You can't just say, well, the Clippers aren't like a team that should be making trades. Sure, but it has to be for someone. It can't. The outgoing picks cannot have any factor. It cannot be a factor whatsoever in the trades that they make. They're gone. They don't exist anymore.
Then this is the final question for them, just based off how the roster is currently constructed, baking in the fact that we don't foresee them, even if they could, making what would be considered a headlining deal. Right now, as we're recording this, they've been hovering between the 6th, 7th, and 8th best lottery odds. Do you expect them to finish the season? I'll set the over-under of lottery odds at the 7th best lottery odds. Better or worse than that?
So are they the 7th worst? Are they the 23rd best team in the league at the end of the season? I don't think. I think they'll be better than that.
I do too.
A lot of that has to do with other teams that I think will be worse, that have outperformed expectations. Like, I still think your Bostons are just, come on, fellas. Like, this respectable start is pretty good, but like, you don't want this. This isn't worth it, So I think Dallas is down there, but Dallas needs to keep its pick. There's lots of teams that I think should be much more motivated to get real bad as soon as possible. And the Clippers,
the Jazz front office has to be furious right now.
Right, I know. But the Clippers just like, maybe Brook Lopez is really truly done, and Chris Paul has announced officially he is going to be done. They all can't stay this bad all season. So I think Clippers will be a little better. I think the teams around them and slightly above them will be a little worse, and they'll narrowly avoid that 7th worst spot.
And I have a quick soapboxy thing.
Please.
I think it's unfair to relitigate why the Thunder are in this position and why the Clippers are. Now, if you want to, there's the James Harden trade. That is debatable. But if you look in hindsight, it's not unfair to say this is going to go down as one of the worst trades in NBA history. It absolutely is. But I don't think we get to... I appreciate the jokes, but I don't think we get to troll the Clippers for making the move, because this wasn't even remember when Kevin Durant was traded from the Nets to the Suns? I think you and I both, when we did our reaction pod, landed on, that's a lot. It's debatable. We probably still would have made it, but we don't understand why the Suns didn't negotiate harder. When that happened with, you got Kawhi, MPG that summer for the Clippers, nobody was saying that. They recognized that it was a lot. I think people said, well, you don't care because they'll either still be good. Look at Kawhi and PG. Look at how this is the model, the two all NBA wings. Or they said, no, you might be bad, but fuck it, because this is going to be worth it. It ended up being a bad trade. I didn't see, and if you have receipts of yourself saying it, feel free to send it to us in Discord or somewhere. I don't remember a single soul saying they would not have made that trade.
I agree. And I think it's just the Shea part of it, right? Because at the time, again, show me the receipts. I'm sure there were people that were like, this guy might be an all-star, or, I really like him. He's quietly, nobody was like, who the centerpiece of this deal is? It's Shea. Like, nobody was saying that. So if you knew
Thunder
that,
weren't
then
even saying that.
Right. If you knew that, then great. But no one foresaw an MVP, best player on a championship team future for him. So, right. And from the Clippers side, it's like, yeah, you give up a guy in Shea that you like, and you pay the picks it costs to get Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. So it's not just it's a bad trade. That, like, full stop. It's a bad trade because of the result. It wasn't even like the sticker shock was there just because of the number of picks, but it wasn't one that there's just so many other trades that were more obviously questionable. This one has just worked out poorly for the Clippers. And last thing I'd say is maybe betting on the health of Kawhi and Paul George was like, that was your core mistake. But at the time, it was like, these guys are great, and they're exactly the types of players you need, and you get two of them, you give up what it costs. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's the right place to land. Another edition of Stat Padding. We're going to be bouncing all over the spectrum of topics here. Grant, where would you like to start for this one?
I am very, very interested in some trade chatter, so maybe we should start there.
Yeah, LaMelo Ball might be a little bit unhappy, so let's play Who Says No, LaMelo Ball edition. We'll take turns exchanging. Grant, I'm going to start.
Okay.
Who says no? LaMelo Ball for Jonathan Kuminga, Brandon Pajemski, Buddy Hield, Gary Payton II, and 2 first-round picks.
Man, if you wait like another 2 weeks and the Warriors keep playing like they're playing, I think nobody says no. But I think the Warriors say yes, because that's a lot of fun. So I guess Charlotte says no by default. But man, that's what an interest. Like, maybe they get the guy that they should have taken way back instead of instead of James Wiseman. Just everybody ends up where they're supposed to be.
You don't think Joe Lacob comes in and vetoes this because you're giving away 2 future All-Stars in JK and Pods?
I think LaMelo would just instantly become a Lacob guy, and then it'd all be fine.
I don't know what the depth would look like. You still have the Anthony Melton. You still have Moses Moody, Al Horford, Draymond, Jimmy Butler, Steph. It's not the most durable team, but I would absolutely. Shout out to video editor of HardwoodKnocks, Andrew, for coming up. He sent that to me and said, I want to see what Grant's reaction is to it. And I said, I think it's going to break his brain, but you were pretty on board with that.
I mean, I just know that what they've got right now isn't quite enough, and they are going to trade Kuminga anyway, so why not? And what have I said has been the Warriors' biggest limitation for a couple of years now? Just secondary creation. I think LaMelo might help just a touch in the shot creation department. All right, I've got one for you, Dan. LaMelo Ball for Tyler Hero, Kasparas Yakuchionis, and the Miami Heat take the protections off of the lottery protected pick they already owe Charlotte in 2027. Who says no?
I think Miami probably says no to that. And I think that's right. Because if you're Charlotte, you kind of know LaMelo Ball's availability. And so if you know you're going to get an unprotected pick from the Heat next summer, but you also kind of look at the depth they have, and they've still been pretty good without Hero this year. I think maybe both sides say no. I think both sides say. Don't you think Charlotte will want more than that in a LaMelo trade?
Well, that's interesting. I think both sides do say no, but I was going to go with, I think maybe the Heat want to see a longer stretch with Tyler Hero before they pull any triggers here. Plus, like, can LaMelo Ball play this new screenless style that the Heat play? Does he need a ball screen to be his best? I don't know. It'd be a weird adjustment, weird experiment.
Who says no? LaMelo Ball for Scoot Henderson, Robert Williams III, Matisse Thybulle, and 2 first-round picks.
I kind of think Charlotte says no to that. The 2 firsts are intriguing, but at this point with Scoot and the hamstring and the underwhelming first couple years, we're still kind of Scoot guys around here, but I don't know if you're getting enough as Charlotte here. Williams has his own injury concerns, and Thybulle is, I don't know if that's a value add.
Pure salary filler.
Yeah,
him and RW.
Right. I think Charlotte says no there.
I agree. Portland should pounce on it I like Scoot, but
yeah. I'm so glad I get to administer this one to you. We've got a challenge trade alert. We need a sound effect for that. John Morant for LaMelo Ball. That is the trade. Who says no?
I think the Grizzlies say no. I don't think that they should. I think the Hornets should say no. John Morant is an exceptional player. The Grizzlies, since he's coming to the NBA, have had an elite offense when he's on the court. I have not seen his game expand enough to think that someone who is so still reliant on quickness and athleticism, he's a smart passer, don't get me wrong. I just don't think between the defense, the shaky jumper, and what does he look like in 2 to 3 years athletically, he's not someone that I want to be building my team around right now.
I think that's right. I think for Charlotte's kind of longer view timeline too, the aging curve for Ja, which you mentioned, has to be like just top of mind. Like by the time Charlotte has a real team built, how good is Ja when he's not as athletic? I mean, he's already losing athleticism. So like what does that look like? I think Charlotte's going to pass on that one.
Sound the challenge trade alert again. I'm stealing this one. Domantas Sabonis for LaMelo Ball.
The Kings should and would, definitely should, probably would say yes to this real quick, I think.
Just start all guards.
Charlotte should say no. Well, just getting LaMelo Ball in there gives you like something to build around. And I think that's what the Kings should be doing, is just tearing it all the way down and trying to find a new cornerstone. And Ball, plenty of risk, plenty of injury concerns. Never really seen him sustain things on a winner. But man, that's just like, you have something to sort of orbit around as the Kings, which is what they're going to need. All right, I've got one for you here. Ooh, this is tough. There's a couple to look at. I'm going to give you the 3-teamer. The Chicago Bulls get Anthony Davis. Dallas gets LaMelo Ball, Zach Collins. Charlotte gets, deep breath, Kobe White, Kevin Huerter, Brandon Williams, an unprotected Bulls pick, and the Lakers 2029 pick via Dallas.
So Dallas is basically giving up the Lakers pick and Anthony Davis to get LaMelo Ball. That seems bizarre. But the Lakers pick in 2029 with Luka, I think Charlotte getting Kobe White and two picks for LaMelo, and then Brandon Williams is useful. I think Dallas is probably the team that says no, right? Or is it Chicago says yes? They're getting Anthony Davis for a first-round pick and Kobe White. I think they wind up saying yes because it's Chicago.
I think, too, we need to know if Dallas still believes defense wins championships now that Nico Harrison is gone. And if that stance has changed, maybe we're talking a deal here. But if not, I don't think you're well, you could still build a pretty good defense with what Dallas has left over in LaMelo, right? Like, I
Cooper
mean,
Flag and LaMelo is insane.
That's pretty fun.
LaMelo. Yeah, I think Dallas, the fact that you have to give up Anthony Davis in a first-round pick, though, is kind of a bummer if you're them.
Yeah.
Final trade idea. Grant, the Milwaukee Bucks are going to take a final swing. Kyle Kuzma, Bobby Portis, an unprotected 2031 first-round pick, and an unprotected 2032 first-round swap for LaMelo Ball and Mason Plumlee. Who says no?
I think Charlotte has to say yes to this. So I guess just because you're buying in on the Bucks post Giannis or extreme decline Giannis future, and the only thing that might keep those picks from being really, really good is LaMelo Ball staying healthy. Like, I think that's a bet Charlotte should be willing to make. If you're the Bucks, this is fascinating because in theory, it's a little bit like the Kings argument where LaMelo Ball's your new centerpiece. He's the guy that's going to be the guy after Giannis. I get that in theory, but you're just, the cupboard's bare. And is LaMelo going to help Giannis chase a title in the next couple of years? I don't. That's a weird fit, right? We have to concede.
If I'm the Bucks, I'd probably just do it. But you know how I feel about LaMelo Ball. I think Charlotte says no, just because those picks are so far out. Jeff Peterson, is he going to be the one making them, or what is your intention of using them? There needs to be some type of a core player or imminent pick coming back. So I like it less for Charlotte than I do for, because even if Giannis leaves and you're Milwaukee, you could still view LaMelo as a tentpole guy potentially.
Yeah, sure. That's how you know it's a good trade, is we've each said the opposite team would say no.
All right, that does it for the LaMelo trades. Let's talk. I think this is going to be fun and ultra difficult, Grant. So who's the one NBA player you'd pick to guard each of the top 5 stars in the league? The twist is, once you select a defender, he's off the board. Okay. So the top 5 player pool, we'll just go through them one by one. I'll start throwing it to you. Who's the one player you're picking to defend Nikola Jokic?
Okay, so this will seem counterintuitive at first, but I am choosing Alex Caruso, who I will...
Not Rui?
Most people would know. Well, Rui does tie in here a little bit because the Lakers kind of offered the theory a little bit. So the reason I'm picking Caruso ultimately is because he's the last thing that actually worked against Jokic, because in Game 7 of the Western Conference semifinals last year, the Thunder just put Caruso on Jokic instead of kind of using him as a helper. And so Jokic has not technically had time to solve that, which he will. But for the moment, it's the only thing we know that has worked relatively well against Jokic. Obviously, there's help coming, but Caruso fronting him, getting up underneath him, nullifying the two-man game with Jamal Murray, which is critical because you can just switch it. I think Caruso and help is just the only thing we've seen work remotely. And until Jokic solves it, that's my default.
I was not expect. I don't know who I was expecting you to pick. It wasn't someone who's a foot shorter than Nikola Jokic. Basically.
No, and like 100 pounds lighter too. But yeah, sometimes you got to think outside the box with Jokic. Now, do you want to nominate a Jokic defender, or would you like me to give you another of the top 5 that you've got to find the defender for?
No, I think we just have to move. Gives
All
the
right.
element of we can't pick them twice. So who do I have?
You cannot use Alex Caruso, and this would be awkward if you did, to defend Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So who are you picking?
Lou Dort. Can we use our own team? No.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if this will surprise you. I'm gonna go with Tamani Kamara because I think with Shai, it's not just you need someone who could keep pace with him, and Tamani Kamara is basically a 5-position defender. It's you need someone who's not going to come out of their shoes anytime he sort of tries to draw contact or he's changing directions. He's just so shifty and eccentric with the way that he moves. I trust Tamani Kamara to be both versatile and disciplined against him. And he's also not, in theory, is he as strong as OG Anunoby? No, but he's not someone that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander should be able to, because Shai's kind of sneakily strong, especially if he's able to use his off arm.
Yep, I like that one.
So I get to throw you Giannis Antetokounmpo. Okay,
so I think it's Draymond, and the numbers kind of back it up. Giannis has shot 46% against Draymond, 53.6 true shooting in games against Draymond. He's not being guarded exclusively by him. Under 20 points a game for Giannis, which is like, you'll take that. And I think Draymond is obviously like at an athletic disadvantage, but he's not someone you're successfully going to drive straight through over and over again, because he will get in position. He will ratchet up the physicality to the point where like it's a you can't call all of them kind of thing. He'll make it harder for Giannis to pass. He can stray off of him away from the ball because that's really what Draymond is best at. I just think he's smart enough and has enough length to bother Giannis, and some of the numbers are kind of compelling. So you don't feel good about anybody against Giannis, but I think that's where I'd go.
I don't know. I feel like I would have went with someone else there, but I get the pick. It's just current Draymond. You think that's still the best?
That's the issue. Is I think the Giannis numbers would look a little better if they were all against current Draymond. So the past is doing some work here. I just think you can't. There's no good choice. Like he's so physically overwhelming.
You took him off the board for somebody else though, which I think is kind of important.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I made it hard on you. All right. You got to guard Luka Doncic with one player. Who's going to be?
Should I be tempted at all just to go with Jaden McDaniels because there's the proof of concept during that one playoff series? And even this season, I think that the Lakers offense hasn't been great when Luka's being guarded by Jaden McDaniels. But I feel in my heart that the answer should be someone like OG Anunoby, because Luka Doncic is so big, can be physical, has the finesse part of his game. I don't like the idea necessarily of OG having to spend so much time defending the point of attack and going around screens. I'm just going to stick with OG Anunoby. I feel like that's a high reward, low floor type of pick.
Yeah. Did you give any thought? I think so. I would have gone Aaron Gordon.
That's a good one.
The size, you're not going to bait him into dumb stuff. He's still really mobile. I mean, you have to pick. OG and Gordon are kind of a piece, right? Like you have to pick someone that is physically strong enough to not just get put on Luka's hip and eliminated. So OG, I mean, there's again, surprise, there's no good option here.
I think this is the only debatable player inclusion. So to round out the top 5 players is Victor Wembanyama. Who are you picking to defend him?
Well, so it's tempting to kind of take the Jokic approach of we need somebody small. Well, everybody's smaller, but you want somebody to get underneath him, right? Like Drew Holiday used to bother Kevin Durant this way.
Right.
I think the height and length advantage is so profound that Wemby will just turn around and shoot or turn around and pass and see every angle. So I'm going to go with Chet Holmgren. And I think part of that is I like the theater of, we've seen some really contentious matchups between the two of them. And I think Chet, in his heart of hearts, believes that he's as good as Wembanyama. And so that makes it, as much as anything, like a fun thing to see these guys go at each other. But Chet's long, he's mobile. I think, like, you know, he's as good as you're going to do unless you find someone that can really just move Wemby off his spot and is still somehow able to just like bother his length, which I don't know who that guy is.
I think that's a good call. Did you give any thought, or am I overthinking this, to an Amen Thompson type?
Well,
to where
so we
throw the
haven't
nuclear
used him.
physicality at him.
Yeah, we haven't used him. And I think if you want someone to just make life difficult, that's probably your guy. You could throw him at almost anybody we've mentioned, by the way. So that's a good one. And then by extension, just why isn't it Asar Thompson? Like, there's if you're gonna pick one, let's do both. Hey, you know what? Package deal. Both Thompsons guard Wemby.
First of all, that's in real life. That's how Wemby would be defended, is with more than one guy. Anyway, Did you give thought to putting Wemby on any of the other players we mentioned?
Basically all of them. But then, like, don't you just want him roving a little bit more?
And also, he's gotten stronger, but all the dudes that we named, Jokic, that would be, does Wemby die? I don't know.
I would say the one I gave the most thought to was using him on Shea, because he could back off and like the Shea getting his shoulder into you isn't like a thing, because Wemby could just meet him at the spot, and he could, if Shea wants to shoot long twos that Wemby jumps out at, great. I mean, I don't know.
It was funny. So I didn't pick Aaron Gordon for Luka Doncic, which I kind of like better now that you mentioned it. I was saving Gordon. And I wasn't sure how we were going to do this. In my head, I thought Aaron Gordon needed to be the Wemby defender. And so, but is there anyone who could slow down any of these guys is the real question.
No, that's why this is a fun exercise.
We have a couple Grant-only exercises to go through. Are you ready for those?
Perfect. I don't need to prepare anything.
Grant, I am giving you a chance at redemption here. 7 active NBA players have at least 25, 5, and 5 seasons for their career. 25 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Still a meaningful stat line. How many of them can you name? You have 3 strikes. And no pressure. Make me proud or else.
I would like to start by guessing LeBron has a 20.
That is
some 25.
That is correct, and he has 25, 5, and 5 seasons.
Can I transfer some of those over to the other players that I will guess that will be wrong? What does the committee say?
I will say, if this is any help, nobody has even half as many seasons as LeBron of 25, 5, and 5.
Not surprising. Okay, so how many 25, 5, and 5 seasons? Sorry.
7 guys have at least 5 of them.
At least 5. Okay. I think Luka's got to be on there, right?
Luka is. That's 2 of 2.
This is how I started last time, so I'm concerned. Man, I'm gonna hope that James Harden has the rebounds, because we know he's got the points and assists.
James Harden has him and Luka both had 7 such seasons, so you are 3 of 3.
25, 5. Ooh. Does Giannis? I'm gonna say Giannis. I don't know about the assists for him.
Giannis is tied in second place with 8. You are currently 4 of 4.
I should retire now. Yeah, the assists are the tricky part. I'm sure there's some obvious ones. I don't think Durant has Durant is not an official guess. I do not think he's got the assists. Jimmy Butler?
Jimmy Butler's not on the list. Strike 1.
That hurts. Let's see. I'm not going to ask you for hints yet, but when I get to strike 2, I definitely will. Jokic.
There you go. That's number 5 on 1 strike.
Yeah. I don't think Embiid has the assists. I will not guess him. Let's see. I don't think. Man, I don't know. There's a lot of dead air. Hope you can edit around this.
He says to the viewers who will be watching it.
I'll have to watch this. Yeah. Let's see. I'll just fire off some guesses. Damian Lillard.
I think the dead air is fine. You need to game it out.
Oh, wait.
How
about Jason Tatum? Is he on there?
That's strike 2, Grant.
That's strike 2.
I will say.
Give me a hint.
I don't think you're going to get one of them because of something you already said.
Oh. Well, let's see. Who have I guess I'll say Durant then. How about that?
That is, he's tied for second with 8 such
Okay.
seasons.
Surprised the assists are up there. So I got
6
one
of
more and I
7.
got one strike. I
Would you
don't
like
think
a clue?
Yes, please.
If you don't get this one, you are going to feel terrible about yourself and everything you stand for.
Okay, then Steph has to be my guess.
That is correct. You did it. He has 6 such seasons. Shout out to Steph getting those
Hey.
rebounds in.
Great redemption.
I thought for a second you weren't going to get Jokic, and that was the most, aside from LeBron, was the most obvious one to me.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. He probably should have been the second guess, but I just was thinking once you start with LeBron, you start thinking about the hard. I almost said Kawhi, but I don't think he had the assists. You start thinking about the older class of guys that just have so many seasons that they have to be on there. Which again should have. I almost guessed Lillard, but I don't think he ever had the rebounds.
I'm sure he did, but yeah, 5 times is a lot, and LeBron is a psychopath. We are on guess a player. First guess a player of the season. We're only going to do one of them. As a reminder, you can submit them, and also if you want to submit the type of trivia that Grant just did with the players and stats, you can send those to us as well. We're always willing to take audience input from it, but because we're pressed for time, we're only going to do one. It comes from Maddie L. Grant, so shout out Maddie L. Are you ready? You have 10
I wish
clues.
I could remember who Matty L is a fan of. This is always helpful, but that's okay. We'll go.
Clue number 1. I was named Latvian League Newcomer of the Year.
Okay, well, now we're speaking my language. Let's see, Latvian League. Well, again, it's been a while since we've done this, but this doesn't necessarily mean this is a Latvian player. But I have to attempt the one-shot kill. We don't have a year. He was just named Latvian League Newcomer
Correct.
of the Year. That's it?
Yep.
Andris Biedrins.
You just one-shot killed it.
Did I?
That's insane. That's insane.
Well, when you think Latvia, Dan, there's only one place to start.
Now you can't. I don't know if we've ever turned guess a player into a short. I think we did. We've been shout out to AW who's doing great work for us. You guys will meet him on the pod soon, by the way. We can't even cut this up because no.
Can
one's
I hear
gonna
some
have the
more clues?
backstory.
I just want to walk down memory lane with Goose.
We need to cut that one out. The first 10-second clip that we ever post. So clue number 2 was I was drafted in the teens in the same draft as Dwight Howard and Luol Deng. Would you have gotten it at that point?
No. In my mind, Biedrins is like the 11th pick or something, but which is, I guess, wrong. But
clue number 3, I averaged 3.6 points, 3.9 rebounds, 0.8 blocks, and 2.9 fouls in 12.8 minutes in 30 games during my rookie season and was the youngest player in the league. I did not know he was ever the youngest player in the league.
I do remember that a lot was made on Warriors broadcasts at the time of anytime he did something wrong, there would be the excuse of he's the youngest player in the league. Might have got there.
I'm curious if you would have known this one. In my second season, this is clue 4, I was called the 1-minute man for my constant foul trouble.
No, that was an issue. I don't remember that.
Clue 5, in my third season, I was given the starting center spot after a change in coaching and Adona Foyle getting benched.
I would have had it there, I think.
Okay.
For sure.
That's still 5 out of, you would have gotten it 5. So we're 1 through. Clue 6 was after my 5th season, I finished 5th in most improved voting behind a teammate.
Yeah, if we know the year, because Monte got it, right? That year.
That had to be I don't even remember that Biedrins had finished that high.
Yeah.
These things are fun because I'm learning in real time.
Right. Yeah, you're learning about that was ultimately a dark but like weirdly bright stretch of bad Warriors teams because Biedrins and Ellis were like, okay, we got like some young guys that are fun to watch, but I mean, they just weren't like winning players. But that's the best we could do at the time.
Clue 7 was in 08-09. I signed a 6-year contract to keep me with the team that drafted me and was named a co-captain. You definitely would have had that. Between 09 and 010 and then 2012-2013, I struggled with injury and form, constantly being pulled out of the starting lineup for such names as Epke Udo and Jeremy Tyler.
Yeah, I would have had it there. Does he get into the free throw issues? Because that became like that ruined his career. He was Ben Simmons. He was terrified to get fouled.
No, the final 2 clues, clue 9, in July 2013, I was part of a trade to the Utah Jazz in order for my team to clear cap space for Andre Iguodala. And clue 10 was I played 6 games with the Jazz, with game 6 being my last ever NBA game.
Yeah. The only other thing I would have thrown in there to get the full picture is he was incredibly tan just a terrifically tan human being for someone from Latvia.
The skin complexion was just on point and enviable.
Very gelled hair, extreme gel user. He was a lot of fun though. The beer drink experience was overall positive.
All right, we have one more thing to do. Again, send us guess of players more, and also send to, if you want to move from guess of players, the type of trivia stuff, so then I could do them as well. If you send them to Grant, docs, or in our Discord, hey, go join our Discord. Look at that. Our final one, Grant. Are you ready? And more importantly, are you excited?
I am beyond excited because I know what this is.
Let's rank these groups of 3 NBA players according to their current trade value. You will start us off by going with LaMelo Ball, Ja Morant, and Trae Young.
Okay. I would like to, before I answer, can we operate collectively here? Because these are all so difficult. So I think LaMelo has to have the most trade value of the three.
Yes, this is inspired by Shamit Due of In the Know, who posted a question on socials asking about it. The injury history is okay. Yeah, it's bad, but the stuff he can do as a shooter, even if he's off the ball, and just the positional size is up. So he's not a great defender and he can be stiff, but he can still kind of make plays defensively because he's so big. So I'd bet on him.
And Fun Max too, right? He's still on the Fun Max.
My controversial take would be, I think Trae belongs at number 2.
I would agree with that.
Okay, good. And for me, it's strictly, you have to, I know Ja Morant's contract runs a little longer, so maybe you're worried about Trae's player option. I just worry about the way Ja Morant is going to age. And so he's already, both him and Trae are defensive liabilities. Trae's worse, of course, but he is, despite what we've seen this season, he's the better shooter. I think he's the player that's going to age better. And also, the other thing that we're not talking about is because his contract is shorter, who's to say he might not get another max deal. And so his contract could become more team friendly. He's
going to be a real test of the league's tolerance for max salaries. I think we have to acknowledge that there's I don't know how big of a chance it is, but there is one that Ja changes teams and looks very much like the guy that we thought he was 2-3 years ago. I just you can't bet on that. And that has to be priced into the trade value thing. All right, good.
Yeah, 100%.
Got it.
We're on
no
point.
problem.
Let's see if it sticks.
All right. You, and with my help, have to order the trade value of Anthony Davis, James Harden, and Karl Anthony Towns. Very different list.
Is this tough? This is tough, right?
These are all tough.
I don't know who to pick number. My instinct says that you should just bet on AD being he's still at the age where he could be a transformative player, but I'm part of me is too blinded by what we've seen in Dallas. And then the recency bias is the Clippers are awful, but James Harden is amazing. But then should we be worried that the Clippers are awful despite James Harden being amazing?
Here's, I think, where we start. I think Towns is just third because the best version of Towns is not on these two guys' level, exclude age or whatever. It's not like Towns is that young anyway. And
you boil it down to, you can't pay 35% of the cap to a floor spacing center who is reluctant to space the floor and can't play center.
And is not a center.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's 3. Work our way backwards.
Yeah.
It's hard. Harden has to be 2 because he's older. That's really his contract. I feel better because he's already signing for less. So I think their deals, he has the player option after this year, and Anthony Davis is going to be up for an extension. You could make a case based on this season alone that it needs to be Harden, but I think he's older and he's less plug and play than a healthy AD.
Right. If you trade for James Harden, it's very difficult. It's just not just any team can do that. I think Davis is someone. Davis has to have the highest trade value, so it's got to be Davis 1, Harden 2, Cat 3.
Our next one, going to start off with these 3, calling an audible here. Based off peek behind the curtain, based off how this is going to be separated, Bam Adebayo, Jaylen Brown, and Jaren Jackson Jr. Who would you have? This is another tough one.
This is a little easier for me. I think Bam has the highest trade value of the 3. I think you get some plug and play elements there. All of these guys are portable, but I think Bam can anchor the defense of a team that looks a lot of different ways. I think the playmaking he provides at center, I feel safe. I feel safe with Bam in ways I don't with the other 2. Do you agree that Bam is the highest trade value there?
I think that's right. He's is the most versatile defender in the NBA, or at least one of the most 5, right? So in that, and then offensively, he can do things as a passer, but doesn't need to be dominating the ball.
The 3-point shot emerging this year for him makes it so like you can't just say, well, it's Jackson because of that. I think Bam on offense now is just, I don't know, as good or better than Jaren Jackson. Certainly better than the version of Jackson that's played this year so far, but who knows what to make of that. Jaylen Brown is, I feel like a lot of people will be like, no, it's Jaylen Brown. He's a two-way wing that's career high in efficiency in an alpha role all of a sudden this year. How is it not him?
I think the contract makes you a little nervous. He hasn't always been the healthiest, but I think he's, more than I'm thinking about it, he's the clear number 2, right? Because Jared Jackson Jr. might be a transformative defender, but the same problems we've always that feel solvable. The rebounding, the foul trouble, those are still the same problems we're talking about for the better part of a decade at this point. So he might be, I don't know. And I mean, Jaylen Brown has been the more reliably available one too. The only reason to pick Jaren Jackson Jr. might be the contract. And now that he was renegotiated and extended, I don't think that argument is as strong anymore.
Right. And I think too, you can use the reductive argument of like finals MVP. I've seen Jaylen Brown do it. So there's huge value there. Also, like, I think what he's done this year, now who knows if this is going to hold up, but there was a real question of like, so what's it look like if Jaylen Brown is your number 1 option offensively? Not bad is the answer. Like, I think the contract's a huge deal because it's just massive, but I think it's Adebayo 1, Brown 2, Jackson 3.
I like everything we say. I think that's right.
All right. I will now force you, with my help again, to rank the trade value of Giannis, Anthony Edwards, and Cooper Flagg.
Well, this one feels impossible because Giannis is still
3 distinct phases of career that we got to figure out.
I think Cooper Flagg is number 1. You have to roll the dice on being, and even because his rookie year in Dallas, they've done everything they can to sabotage him. And you know that the vision of him defensively is going to work. What you might not feel great about is what would he do if he was the primary ball handler. As Giannis has shown throughout his career is that you can win MVPs without being the primary ball handler. Giannis feels safest, but the age, I'm giving up more to roll the dice on Cooper Flagg than for Giannis. Is that dumb?
I'm having a really hard time here. So here's how I would try to answer the question. The Mavericks call the Wolves and say, we will give you, salaries don't exist. You can have Cooper Flagg, give us Anthony Edwards. I think Minnesota says no. I think Minnesota says we can't. It's Anthony Edwards. Like you can't. What else are you offering? So, don't you imagine that's how it goes?
I could see that. Well, let's work our way backwards then. Giannis is probably at 3 strictly because of the age. Then
I don't know though. Like if that's the thing, these guys, this is such an apples to oranges to pears like comparison. These guys are. It's a cop out. We will rank them, but like it depends on what stage of your team, what stage of the evolution of your team you're at. Because if you're like, we got to win immediately, then okay, Giannis, right? And then if it's like we're kind of trying to split the difference, it's Edwards. And if it's we'd like to be good in 2031, it might still be Edwards, but it's more likely going to be Flagg. So, why isn't it just Giannis is number 1? And then it's Edwards and then it's Flagg. Why isn't it just the quality of the player today?
Because you're trying to scale forward. But the way that you're framing it now makes me think you should go when we're talking about a multi-time MVP who can still be the best. Over 30 though, I hate to frame it through that.
Okay.
Do you feel more comfortable giving up right now 4 first-round picks and 3 swaps for Giannis or Cooper Flagg? What makes you more comfortable?
Man, I wish I'd seen more than like 15 games of Cooper Flagg is my answer to that. So maybe here's where I'm leaning. How about Edwards is number 1? Because you get a little bit of both.
Split the difference.
Right. Because Giannis, I agree, like your time horizon with Giannis is just too short, I think, to give up like the massive package of picks and players.
And I do think you're right. If you just put Anthony Edwards, like if you put Anthony Edwards and Giannis Antetokounmpo on the open market at the same time, I wonder if Anthony Edwards is gonna like that's the Timberwolves are getting the call first.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because you could imagine the next 5 years. You don't have Giannis declining was a concern coming into this year, and with Edwards, it's like that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
He's still getting better, and like Giannis is a better player now, but it's like the difference between the third, fourth best player in the league and the eighth or whatever. I think Edwards is one. I think Edwards has the highest trade value. Flag, I just don't know what to do with.
I'm putting him too.
Okay.
Look, I think it's Giannis is the safe bet at 1 even, but I'll go Edwards, Flag, Giannis. I'm going to invest more in the guy that I think might be around for the next 15 years. That's just what I feel more comfortable doing.
Yeah, I want to get out of this one, so I'm going to agree with you because this was too hard.
Okay, trade value rankings: Jared Allen, Rudy Gobert, Domantas Sabonis.
Boy, these feel pretty close. I kind of feel like Allen. I wish I could remember his contract. It's not the super cheap one. I think Sabonis has 3 years left. So
Jared Allen's going to start a 3-year extension after this season.
At what per year? 30?
He's in the 30s.
Man. Is it Rudy Gobert because his contract is the shortest? Because didn't they? No.
I would say it's absolutely not Rudy Gobert.
Who do you feel? Well, you're going to have to help in the collaborative side of this because I don't know what to do with this one.
Jared Allen's probably the clear number 1 for me. And so he starts that. So he's even under 30. Yeah. I mean, sign me. The contract is 3 years and $90 million. That starts next year. That's under 18% of the salary cap.
Okay.
I'm going to go Jared Allen.
It's because of that. Because I think most people would look at this list and say Jared Allen is the third best player on it.
Maybe. Okay. But he seems easier to fit in anywhere. Domantas Sabonis is the best player on this list, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Not this season so far. The issue for me is, so Jared Allen has better hands than Rudy Gobert and not the same defender, but probably a little more versatile. Rudy is still, during his minutes, can kind of be the defense unto himself, but you're giving something away on each end of the floor with Gobert and Sabonis. Gobert offensively, Sabonis defensively. You're not giving too much away with Allen unless the floor spacing element, but the screening is vertical spacing.
Yep. Okay, I have it. I think I agree with you. Allen is number 1 in value. I think it's Gobert 2, Sabonis 3. And I think that's because of what Gobert can be the defense unto himself. Sabonis has been part of very good offenses, but like the defense just isn't there. And you don't know what you've got to build kind of creatively, I think, around Sabonis on offense and then certainly on defense.
That might be, I think I might put Sabonis at 2 and Gobert at 3. I'm factoring age. And then I just value someone who can drive your entire offense more than I drive someone who can drive your entire defense.
Yeah, it's close. I think where we do, I think Allen is 1. I think I think we've kind of officially landed there. I just don't know, man. I think I still have Sabonis 3rd. The durability until this year was a pretty big.
You're a Sabonis hater? I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I'm shocked.
All right. We have one more here. Another former King. De'Aaron Fox, Lauri Markkanen, and Austin Reeves. Who has the highest trade value here?
So maybe I'm galaxy braining this, but we don't know what Reeves' next contract is going to be.
Kind of need to know that.
If he's going to be on a max, which I'm just going to assume, okay, he's on a max, I think I'm taking De'Aaron Fox 1 here. He's looked pretty good this season since coming back from injury with the Spurs. He's the better defender. Austin Reeves is who's the better shot maker? I know Reeves can do more things away from the ball. He does the relocate stuff really well. I'm going to go with De'Aaron Fox at 1. I think he's of this bunch that we named, isn't he the most bankable star? Reeves is into his second season as being the kind of it guy?
Yeah, I think partly because of the salary and because he's a complimentary guy for sure. Markkanen's probably 3rd, right? So we can start at the end with that. He's
3, but this season there's a case for him to be 2. He can't be 1, but 2 for sure.
Like, what's he look like? Yeah, what does this version of Markkanen look like with average shot creation and supporting offensive players around him.
Here's the thing. He has less than average offensive creation and shot making around him now, and that's what he looks like.
That's what I mean. So is he definitely one if the supporting cast is better? I don't know.
I think that I value from scratch things a little bit more, and so that's why I would lean Fox there. Yeah.
I agree. I think Markkanen's 3. Fox and Reeves is a lot closer than I would have thought. Reeves is a more efficient play. Reeves has more off-ball value. I think is fairly well established, right? Like I think as a defense, you're more worried about him being left open. Fox's track record is just longer, though.
Reeves is probably the better passer out of pick and rolls, right? No,
yeah, maybe? And he's like just more creative. There's more. He can do more. There's more variety in what Reeves does, I think, on the ball. This isn't easy. And you worry about Fox as a guy that has depended on speed and athleticism and what happens when that goes.
Oh, man.
Reeves, they'll counter. Reeves doesn't have a step to lose athletically, but he might be more skilled. It's kind of tied into like he's more variety as he splits a pick and roll. Like what happens? I don't know. Reeves will just like do whatever the situation calls for. Did
you just sell me on Reeves at 1? There's no way.
I'm trying to sell myself. I think we have to honor the body of work and say Fox is 1. But if Reeves, tell me this, if Reeves is not maxed out, if Reeves is making 30 to 35 a year,
it's him.
It's probably Reeves.
It's him. Yep, it's him. That's wow. So Fox 1, Reeves 2, Markkanen 3.
Think so.
These were good. I feel terrible about myself. Are you ready to take us out of here?
I'm. You know what? We collaborated on these, and we are collaborating and feeling terrible about ourselves. Thanks everybody for listening, for watching. Remember to rate, review, subscribe, join our Discord. Links for that in the YouTube and podcast description. Please let us know how you would order, especially these trade values, and weigh in on any of the other stat padding stuff we did, because I feel like this is all pretty ripe for discussion and comments. That's going to do it. Shouts, Frank Ntilikina. Apologies, Jared Allen.